Fire when ready.
Fire when ready?
Yes. Really?
It's August 5th, 2015, and this is your Fortean Slip news.
From cryptozoologynews.com, my favorite.
A reputable news source.
Well, I read the disclaimer on the website just before, we got on the air, and it said they're real stories. The disclaimer says so.
They're real. Just like the whistle coming through Steve's teeth.
They are not vetted, but they are real. Anyway,
Gotcha.
This is a Thunderbird story, Chris.
Ooh.
Yes, we haven't done a Thunderbird story. I have the pop filter. That's supposed to take the S's out, but it don't. Two water treatment operators witness Thunderbird in Massachusetts from Blandford.
That's not far from me, Steve.
You got big old birds up there.
Big old birds.
Did I ever tell you about... Never mind.
I say, it's a Thunderbird, son.
Two water treatment operators on Monday said they saw a bird so big that they initially thought it was an airplane. Bernie and Noreen St. Martin told Cryptozoology News that they were patrolling the Long Pond Reservoir in a boat last week when they noticed the unidentified flying creature in plain daylight. I first noticed what I thought to be two planes, one large jet flying under a smaller plane. Then I realized
Did you see that fucking bird? Jesus Christ.
Then I realized that the small plane was actually a bird, said 56-year-old Noreen. At that moment, the woman says she pointed out the oddity to her husband, Bernie, who's 64, and that they tried to identify the creature to no avail. Its large wings were flapping. It was very large, wide wings and a huge wingspan, Noreen added. The couple said they were able to visually follow the bird for 5 to 7 minutes as it flapped its wings flying north. Now, the two water treatment operators did not produce any photographic evidence. Aww.
It was a large bird. We could see it over the water.
And have not yet replied to inquiries regarding this matter, but it is suspected that the alleged giant bird could have been flying at an altitude too high for a standard phone camera to be able to capture a clear image without the use of a telephoto lens. It flew overhead, and not once did it ride any thermals. It wasn't anything that we could identify, said the woman. This is the second giant bird sighting reported in a month. In mid-July, a 54-year-old IT executive from California told Cryptozoology News that he and a relative came upon a similar creature while driving across the Nevada desert on their way to Winnemucca. In April. Winnemucca. In April, I'm sure I pronounced that right. A Louisiana man. You always
do, Steve.
I always do. A Louisiana man claimed to have seen a similar flying creature, and he believes it was the same creature responsible for cow mutilations in 1978.
That's a stretch.
I haven't heard that theory before, but hey, whatever. Thunderbird is the nomenclature used by Native Americans to refer to bird-like creatures with reptile feathers that are believed to be related to the extinct reptile, although I believe that's not correct in the story, but whatever. The Long Pond Reservoir, holding about 65 million gallons of water, covers 81 acres of Hampton County and is Blandford's drinking water source. And apparently Thunderbird drinking water source too. No comment there, Chris?
Huh? You heard of Thunderbird once, right, Steve?
I've told you about that. I've mentioned my Thunderbird hearing.
Yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure we've shit on you copiously about it.
Listen, it was large. It was definitely a bird, and it sounded like thunder.
It was large. It was in the air.
I lost the source, but it was a comic book website of some sort. TV urban legend. South Park was originally going to be an X-Files style show. Trey, excuse me, Trey Parker and Matt Stone drew the attention of Comedy Central with a pair of Spirit of Christmas animated shorts starring the characters that later became famous on South Park. However, after they signed a deal to create an ongoing television series, Parker and Stone were faced with a difficult task. How do you turn a short video into a TV show? They essentially had to develop a series from scratch, similar to Simpsons, which was on the Tracy Ullman show. In the case of Parker and Stone and South Park, the most notable change was that originally the series was going to be a lot like the X-Files. The first episode of South Park, Carmen gets an anal probe, detailed just that. Alien visitors
You like
coming
that,
to South
do you,
Park.
Steve?
I just love the title of the show. Cartman gets an anal probe. Detailed just that. An alien visitor coming to South Park, Colorado, and inserting an anal probe into third grader as Kyle forcing Cartman, Kyle, Stan, and Kenny to rescue him. Eventually, the boys used the anal probe. The visitors left in carts. Yeah, I can't speak. Well,
You can't fucking speak any night. Don't even try to say
Anyway.
night.
Eventually, the boys used the anal probe the visitors left in Cartman's ass to lure them back to Earth so Ike can be saved. The hook of the series was that the small towns in Colorado seemed to report the most sightings of UFOs, Bigfoot, and the like. In fact, as Parker has noted in a number of interviews, the real Park County, which actually has a South Park, is specifically known for UFO sightings. So Parker and Stone So Parker and Stone wanted to explore that notion by saying the reason they have the most reports of crazy happenings is because all of that stuff is actually happening to the people of South Park. They are being visited by UFOs. They are being visited by Bigfoot, and etc. Oh, and this was from, by the way, this was from spinoff.comicbookresources.com. While the aliens depart at the end of the first episode, originally they weren't supposed to leave entirely and would influence the plot of the series going forward. That was in keeping with Parker and Stone's fascination with the idea of aliens walking among us, which is an element of their pre-South Park film, Cannibal, the musical. Ooh, that sounds delightful. Alien visitors are hidden throughout that movie. However, when coupled with their view that this was a town where things like Bigfoot or the Chupacabra really did exist, Parker and Stone felt the series was going to be too similar to the X-Files. Yeah, because South Park could be too similar to the X-Files. Anyway, is this legend true? The answer is yes. It was going to be like the X-Files, but they decided to change it.
Wow.
I like South Park. I know. Can you imagine the whole series being like our show? Kind of.
Maybe.
You know, basically
But
that's what South Park does. Shit on everything. So, I mean, not that we shit on it. We shit on it legitimately, and so does South Park. Tends to do that sometimes. So, and the big story tonight, Chris, from RT.com.
We have a big story?
Yeah, because this one's actually real and true, and
Well, wait a minute. The South Park story is
weren't.
true, you said?
Well, yeah, that is true, but this is a real, like a story that actually matters.
Oh.
Yes, that's what I meant. Blue Moon murder. Police suspect witchcraft.
That only happens once in a blue moon, Steve.
That's what they say at the end of the story, I believe.
Oh.
3 members of a reclusive family found with their throats slit in Florida may have been victims of ritualistic killings connected with Wiccan witchcraft, police said. They are slain on the day of the blue moon, a second full moon in a month. The 3 victims were found after a welfare check on Friday, July 31st, and identified as Bonsil Smith, weird name. She was 77, and her 2 sons, Richard, 49, and John, 47, police said. Von Seal and John died from blunt force trauma and had their throats cut. Richard was shot in the ear as he entered the house and then had his throat cut as well. Escambia County Sheriff's Office reported. Based on the medical examiner's report, the killings happened on Tuesday evening. The police said they found no evidence of a forced entry. It appears that this might be connected to some type of Wiccan ritual killing and possibly tied to the Blue Moon. Spokesman for the office, Sergeant Andrew
Dumbass
Hobbs,
from the
told
fucking
NBC
police
News.
department said because he knows nothing about Wiccan religion.
Yeah, I know that you're familiar with it, Chris. Do they actually have ritual killings in the Wiccan religion?
No,
I didn't
you would
think
not
so.
consider that Wiccan. That wouldn't be anything related to a Wiccan ritual. Wiccans don't perform any type of sacrifices. They're like the peace loving hippie magic users, if you want to call
Well,
them
now, like most other religions, don't you have your extremists that may do something like that?
that. They wouldn't be considered, if someone was doing that within that religion, they wouldn't be performing that religion because it's not a part of it.
Okay. It does say the police spoke to a person of interest, a Wiccan practitioner, probably because it's the only Wiccan practitioner they could find in the area.
And they
But no arrests were made.
and whoever it is probably just saying that they're Wiccan, or the
Right.
police are labeling that person as Wiccan. There's no real facts towards that. What they might have found some symbols or whatever, or it was done. It had to do something to do with the moon. Fuck off. Like, do a
other
little bit more
words,
research. Wiccans aren't they're not sacrificial. They're not fucking out killing people.
In other words, they may have found some symbols that were related to witchcraft or maybe even Wiccan or Satanism for all I know. And they're just lumping it all into one group and calling it Wiccan, probably because that's the only thing they know to call it, is my guess. Because they said they talked to a person of interest who was a Wiccan, but they didn't arrest nobody because they have no idea.
They got they just went for whatever it was that was readily available, and it was Wiccan. And that's
Right.
what they fucking labeled it as. That's what it seems like to me, because it doesn't
That's
make
what
it doesn't make any sense, because that is not something that someone who practices Wicca or the quote-unquote Wiccan religion would do. It just isn't something that a person that does that would do.
Right. It does say the elements of this case are odd at best, Sheriff David Morgan said. We have a very reclusive family. Obviously, we've canvassed the neighborhood, spoken to people who've lived there for years and years. Neighbors have related to us that they've never met members of this family. Police dispatched a unit to check on the Smith house after Richard Smith's supervisor at Homeland Security, conspiracy theory, Chris, reported him missing from work. And now here's where they talk about the blue moon. Blue moon is a second full moon in a given calendar month, or more rarely, a fourth full moon in a calendar season. A blue moon happens once every 2 or 3 years, which explains why the expression became part of the idiom for a rare event, once in a blue moon. So what we basically have here is a bunch of idiot cops that have no clue what they're talking about.
I'm not saying that the cops are complete fucking idiots, but I mean, come on. Seriously, if you do a little research, a little due diligence, you'd know that that's not the case, and you wouldn't refer to it as that.
Right.
So,
but
that's all I'm saying.
Right. Now, you're familiar with Wiccan, but somebody like me who isn't may jump to a conclusion like that because we have no clue. Now, I wouldn't, obviously, because I know enough about Wiccan to know that they're not, they don't do the ritualistic stuff, but, the killings and stuff. But I might lump it in with some other form of, I don't know, weird religion of that nature because I don't know. And that sounds like what's going on here. They have no clue. But anyway, that, Chris, is the news.
Somebody get me Mick West.
She didn't sound very convincing.
It's waning in interest.
Yeah.